The story centers on a young girl named Matilda Wormwood. She is as intelligent as she is quick witted. She's very fortunate to have been blessed with advanced intellectual abilities that surpass even those who were thrice her age. However, she was unfortunate in the sense that she was not surrounded by anyone that could nurture and further enhance her God given potential. Matilda's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Wormwood, were too self absorbed to even acknowledge Matilda's extraordinary capabilities. Matilda is enrolled into Crencham Hall Elementary School, where she comes face to face with the formidable headmistress, Miss Trunchbull. Though it was also at the very same place where she meets the kind and warm-hearted Miss Honey. Matilda finds her inner strength and uses her newly discovered exceptional talent to fight back against her bullies, whilst simultaneously navigating through the perils and unpredictability that prevail in one's academic journey. One of my favorite parts from the book is when Matilda uses her telekinetic powers to scare Miss Trunchbull into giving Miss Honey what was rightfully hers, an act that restored order around Crencham Hall Primary School. What made me fall in love with this book was Matilda's character. She is certainly one to get behind, as she was equal parts empowering, knowledgeable, and brave. She harbored traits most people only aspire to possess. The entire story is sprinkled with comical yet subtle humor and is teeming with appropriately dramatized plot twists that keep you continuously intrigued from beginning to end. I thoroughly enjoyed the book and would recommend it to my friends, as the story features a different take on the meaning of intelligence. Matilda possessed a trait and applied it to situations that went beyond an academic setting. So, let's review the essay bit by bit. When you review a book or any other reading material, it's best to start with the name of the book. And in this case, the name of the book is Matilda. Of course, books are written by authors, and that is why you should also name the author or the writer of the book. In this case, it's Roald Dahl. The 232-page book was originally published in 1988. So we can see here that I mentioned the page count because people tend to care about this when they're reading reviews. They want to know if they are about to read a 500-page book or a 90-page book. There is a big difference between the two. And of course, you want to know when it was published. Is it a classic that was published in the 1800s, or is it a more modern day literature published within the 20th or 21st century? This book was published in 1988, okay, but as I mentioned, the plotline remains a relevant favorite until this day. Now, once you have stated some of the credentials of the book, or some of the simple facts of the book, you can go on to talk about the actual protagonist or the main character of the book. So, the story centers on a young girl named Matilda Wormwood. She is as intelligent as she is quick witted. When you introduce a name or a character, it's best to follow up with what the character is like and to maybe throw in what the story revolves around or centers on. And in this case, I mentioned what Matilda was and what her situation was like in terms of her surrounding and her environment. Matilda's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Wormwood, were too self absorbed to even acknowledge Matilda's extraordinary capabilities. Now, in the next paragraph, Matilda is enrolled into Crencham Hall Elementary School, where she comes face to face with the formidable headmistress, Miss Trunchbull. Though it was also at the very same place where she meets the kind and warm-hearted Miss Honey. Matilda finds her inner strength and uses her newly discovered exceptional talent to fight back against her bullies, while simultaneously navigating through the perils and unpredictability that prevails in one's academic journey. One of my favorite parts of the book is when Matilda uses her telekinetic powers to scare Miss Trunchbull. So here, in this part of the book is when, of the book review, is when you describe a monumental part of the book that maybe you liked most, or maybe it is the part of the book that made you think that, wow, this book is different, or it meant more to you. So in this case, I thought that the part where the good people got what deserved and the bad people were punished as they should have been, it was definitely the part where I liked the most, where I thought that finally there is some justice going around. Next paragraph is when I describe the character I like the most, and of course it's Matilda. She is certainly one to get behind, as she was equal parts empowering, knowledgeable, and brave. She harbored traits most people only aspire to possess. So, this is how I would describe someone who is fictional, and she has all these traits or characteristics that people only dream of having, and yet she had all of them at the same time within one person. And of course, the last part is also important. It determines how your essay finishes. I thoroughly enjoyed the book and would recommend it to my friends, as the story features a different take on the meaning of intelligence. Matilda possessed the trait and applied it to situations that went beyond an academic setting. So the last part is basically where you are concluding the parts of the book that you see as significant, why you chose this book. And in this case, you're saying that the story is inspiring and that the character herself is a formidable character. So that is probably the best way to end your essay, with a statement that leaves an impression. Part 3, Extended Writing. Question 1. Reviews required. Have you read any interesting books lately? Send us your book review. Say what you enjoyed the most about the book. Would you recommend the book to your friends, and why? The best review will be published in our magazine. So here we have another essay centered on a review. In the previous slides or in the previous videos, I focused on reviews regarding restaurant and location. This time around, I'm doing a review on a book. So what exactly do they want from you? They want you to send a book review about the last interesting book that you read. So my advice for this essay is the same, or it's similar to my prior advice for the prior essays, in which the best thing to do is to write about what you know. So you don't exactly have to write about the actual last book you read. Okay, instead, write about the book you know the most about, the book that you can describe or you can elaborate on. So, the book that I chose to write about is Matilda by Roald Dahl, simply because it is my childhood favorite book. But emphasize on the fact that it's my favorite, which means that whoever is listening or watching, you can write about whatever book that you personally like. So, let's go through the essay. I recently read Matilda by Roald Dahl. The 232-page book was originally published in 1988, but the plotline remains relevant favorite until this day. The story centers on a young girl named Matilda Wormwood. She is as intelligent as she is quick-witted. She's very fortunate to have been blessed with advanced intellectual abilities that surpass even those who were thrice her age. However, she was unfortunate in a sense that she was not surrounded by anyone that could nurture and further enhance her God-given potential. Matilda's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Wormwood, were too self-absorbed to even acknowledge Matilda's extraordinary capabilities. Matilda is enrolled into Cruncham Hall Elementary School, where she comes face to face. Ada benda nak edit. Ada kat typo baru sedar.